Welcome to Running Your Stories. I'm here today with Steph Dwyer talking about her upcoming fundraising challenge, the Yorkshire 10 Peaks, which Steph will tell us all about. And she's raising money for CRO, Cave Rescue Organisation, and Mind, the mental health charity.
Just to give you an update.
Sorry, I'll just get this and start again. Oh, fuck, I knew I should have turned the volume down.
So I've asked the boss to give me a bell.
Sorry.
At the moment, I'm just pulling together a search plan on Starman, but no further action at this point.
Yeah, you've already written that in the log. Why did you need to call me to tell me that? I have to turn it off completely. The volume doesn't go down to 0 on the police airwaves, does it?
No.
Right, sorry about that.
No problems at all.
I wouldn't mind if it was like, a call to action kind of thing, but
yeah, you're like, oh.
Yeah, never mind. Right, I'll start again. Welcome to Running Your Stories. I'm here with Steph Dwyer to talk about her upcoming Yorkshire 10 Peaks Challenge, raising money for Cave Rescue Organisation and for Mind. So without further ado, before my Mountain Rescue radio goes off again, welcome, Steph.
Hello.
So Steph, tell us about your challenge and what it's all about.
So basically it's just about trying to get around and surviving. But it's a route that a friend of mine, Jill Eccleston of Run Bike Fun fame, so awesome running coach, and I came upon this idea that we just wanted to kind of get out, get fit and get healthy, just kind of, keep ourselves mentally well and focused during lockdown. And we thought, well, why don't we do it for charity? So one of the things is that both of us are members of the Cave Rescue Organisation, which is the fell and mountain and cave rescue team in the Yorkshire Three Peaks area. So we kind of cover the Yorkshire Three Peaks, Malhamdale, and that general area. And they've basically are a completely voluntary team, so they rely entirely upon donations, and it's run entirely by volunteers. And the thing that probably isn't that publicly known is that like the teams themselves have to do a lot of the fundraising. And so this past year has obviously been really hard for obvious reasons. We won't mention the C word. So it's been really, really tough for teams across the whole country to try and raise funds, because even though it's been a quiet year fundraising wise, it hasn't been a quiet year for them call out wise. So, regardless of whether, there's a risk of getting COVID or not, these volunteers will still turn up 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, no matter what. And the pandemic has proven it to a whole new level. So it felt really, really important to me and Jill to try and find a way of fundraising. We thought, well, we're allowed to get out and exercise every day. We're allowed to get fit. And so we set ourselves a challenge that we would do when it's appropriate. So when, lockdown is eased and all of that. And then we put the idea to a friend of ours, Helen, who is also a member of Crow. And she was like, yeah, sure. It's for a really good cause. Let's go for it. So we're doing it in aid of our local rescue team. And then we were also thinking that, this is such a brilliant exercise to do for mental well-being. And so we would actually do it jointly in aid of the mental health charity Mind.
Yeah. So it's all right. I just at the same moment I had to change a setting on my computer because it was starting to back things up, back up in the middle of the podcast. So yeah,
I was like, I better not just keep talking. It's so
sweet. It's good. So yeah, like you say, we're just on the mountain rescue side. First of all, obviously, I'm also in mountain rescue, and we know each other from the mountain rescue, the Spine Mountain Rescue Challenge, when you set the ladies' course record, and I limped to the finish.
Look at, we all limped.
But yeah, also being in mountain rescue, I can echo what you're saying. Mountain rescue teams are extremely busy. We're being called to some jobs that probably wouldn't have been called to if the emergency services weren't as stretched. I would still say they are all proper mountain rescue jobs, but yeah, we're getting called a lot, as you say. Fundraising's not been happening anywhere near the same scale, and some teams are lucky that funds have still been coming in anyway, and some teams are really struggling. Again, it's a mixed picture across the country how much PPE is being donated and how much we've all had to buy.
Yeah.
So that, you know, there's been a lot of money spent on PPE because we obviously have to protect ourselves and protect our members and protect the public that we're out there to help. So it is a very stretched time as an absolute minimum, and generally difficult time for all mountain rescue teams. So I definitely echo what you're saying there. And then on to Mind, a charity which, if I remember correctly, is the same one that, oh, why has her name gone out of my head now? Another lady that I interviewed a year or two ago had raised money for as well, which is a lot about mental well-being. And so, do you want to tell us more about Mind? You'll have more up-to-date information than myself, Steph.
Yeah, well, why this was very close to my heart, particularly, was because I have a background in psychology and I own a business called Yorkshire Guides. And when I have worked with young people who had emotional and behavioral challenges and who had, you know, mental illness, I found that when I got out and did outdoor sports with them, you know, even just for a walk in the countryside, that it really, really like helped them so much. And, you know, for me, it was always my kind of career aspirations to become a clinical psychologist and to become a talking therapist. And much to my surprise, my experience showed me that really that it isn't all about talking, and that actually when you get out and do physical exercise and get out and spend time amongst nature, that it has a really, really profound effect on your mental well-being. And, you know, it sounds like such a simple thing, but as I've studied more and more, I've started to understand some of the theory and the science behind why this is so incredibly powerful. And so it was like, right, you know, I have to incorporate that into my business, into my work, the way I do things. I will certainly incorporate that into my work. So I'm hoping to do my clinical doctorate in sometime in the next couple of years, and that will be, you know, really, really fundamental to that. And so, you know, putting that in the context of now, you know, we're going through an incredibly difficult time. You know, human beings are designed to be social creatures. We're designed to have, you know, physical closeness. We're, you know, designed to be intimate. We're designed to be affectionate towards each other. And of course, because of this pandemic, these are exactly the things that we can't do. And that is like a massive, massive big deal, you know, and so we're doing a very, very good job and continuing to get better, hopefully, at protecting ourselves from this virus. But we also equally, you know, need to think about the next pandemic that's coming, and that will be the mental health pandemic, you know, the actual side effects and the long-term effects of, you know, being isolated, of all the stress that people are under because of, you know, the working conditions, because of lack of work, because of lack of financial security. And so the one thing that we can do now that keeps us COVID safe, that is also really good for our mental health, is to get out and get moving. And so really, it was like, right, you know, this is, you know, really what this challenge is all about. It isn't so much about what myself, Jill and Helen do, although that's incidental, and it will be a challenge for us and hopefully inspire people to donate. But really, the important thing for me is that it's inspiring people to move, and it's inspiring, you know, people on how to keep safe and keep themselves safe in the outdoors, because although it's important to exercise, it's also equally important to keep yourself safe in the outdoors when you're doing that, especially if you're not very experienced. And, you know, There's lots of really, really good websites out there. I'll just say it for anybody who's watching, to pass on to their friends. There's lots of great sites out there on mountain rescue, England and Wales. There's Adventure, I think .net is another one. What's that other one? There's another great, I'll tell you about it. When I remember, I'll get you to put it into the link at the bottom. Yeah, so for me, it was just about, advocating and encouraging and inspiring people to get out. And, and I was actually really inspired by when you did your full spine last year. You did your little thing on the Pennine Way there for however many 100 and a bit miles that you did of it. You had this really great thing like match my miles.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. So like that's the sort of thing that I'd love to encourage people to do, is like match, the miles of myself and Jill and Helen and and get out there. And the other thing is just actually also inspire women, to get out and do, cool stuff. I'm running this with, an all women team. I'm going to be running it with like 2 other mothers. So, I mean, I'm not a mother. I can't keep a mint plant alive. Never mind a human being. But I'm very, in awe and admiration of other women who can keep other human beings alive and go running out in the hills. And it appears that it is possible because they're phenomenal. They do really, really cool shit. So it's also, just, inspiring women to kind of get out and do that. So yeah. And so, really it was just a reminder to, get people out, get healthy, get fit, keep moving, use that as a thing to, if nothing else, distract them from all that's going on in the world, to help them be present in the moment. And then also just that Mind is a really, really brilliant charity that is helping people in a multitude of ways with their mental well-being. And they've got so many great resources. And, as with most things in life, the problem with the pandemic is that the side effects, the economic side effects of this and others, is disproportional to those in lower socioeconomic statuses. And so, these people, these children from underprivileged backgrounds, they need additional support, and they may not have the same resources that the rest of, more privileged people have. And so I just think it's so important that if anybody can, spare a few quid, throw some money towards the likes of Mind, because they are going out there into the community and helping those who really, really need it right now. And so for anybody who is watching this, please do consider making a donation, even a quid. Like if that's all anybody can, I mean, crikey, if we all gave £1, everybody who listened to this, it would be an awful lot of money. So yeah, please do donate to Mind, and then donate to, the Cave Rescue Organisation, which is the rescue team that covers, one of the most popular walking routes in the whole country. So if you are a 3 Peakser or you do the 3 Peaks race, just know that, when you're running across those fells, being amazing, having a great time, that there is a load of volunteers who are stood on the side of the hill, freezing their tits off, waiting in case you do trip up over a bit of limestone, and who will be there, no matter what, to take care of you. So yeah, just, spare a few quid for them too.
Yeah. Well said, Steph. Are you coming up for air now? So just to sort of go back to a couple of things there again, I'll echo what you're saying about the stress and the mental difficulty of the pandemic. One of the recent podcasts I did with Gav and Sinead, who are this week, while we're recording this week, they're running 30 miles a day for 7 days.
Oh yes, yeah.
To raise money for Andy's Man Club for very similar reasons. It's about, again, about mental health, and again, similar to yourself, it's also given them focus, given them an excuse to get out and get fit and give themselves some direction, because while races and events are not happening, it is difficult to give yourself that sense of direction. And it's kind of strange that we're don't want to complain about it because we're coming from definitely from a privileged position. But when you're used to training to whatever level for events, and then those events go away and that training goes away, it really, your mental health starts to slip. And so I love all these challenges and different ideas that people are coming up with. And again, got another episode, which I don't know yet whether it'll be out before or after this one, because it was also recorded today, talking with Howard Dracup about solo unsupported, because it's another way to go, which is COVID safe. You go out on your own, completely on your own. And we talk about in that episode about the kind of safety net and knowing that mountain rescue was there, but what we're trying to do on solo to not have to rely on that safety net. But it is there, and it is part of what makes it possible for people to go out and do things. And it is actually one of the just sort of reflecting on the busyness of my team, Home Valley team, where it's a fairly urban kind of area. We have some moors here, we're a piece of the Pennine Way through our area and things, but a lot of our call outs are like little pieces of woodland, farmland, people walking across fields and things. And I was asked I think summertime last year, we were getting quite busy, and people were sort of saying, well, do you mind, are these people not sort of being stupid and things like that? I says, well, no, we've had a lot of call outs to people who usually would go and sit in the pub or maybe walk around some shops on very, very flat ground, and they've now gone out into the proper outdoors and on some rough ground, and unfortunately they're not that strong, and they come to harm a bit more easily than you or I might, who are running around in the mountains on a regular basis. But we really don't mind going out to help people. The people who've had a genuine accident, they need some help. That's what we're there for. But it's actually good to see more people going out in this local area. I'm sure it's quieter in places like the Three Peaks and in the Lake District and in Wales. So teams like ours are getting really busy because there's more people out around here, but that's a good thing, because as you say, it makes such a difference. One of the things I struggled with in the first lockdown, it was very, very specific about only going out once a day, and that was very difficult for me. I'm usually out 3 times a day, every day. And so the way things are at the moment, I understand that I'm allowed to take my dog for a walk in the morning and then go for a run in the afternoon, and that's okay. And I can take my kids out if they need to go out as well. And it's the first lockdown, and understandably, the government has never done anything like it before. You can't get it all right first time, but that was really tough. I found just going out once a day. If you're not getting out into the outdoors and seeing green or white if it's snowing, that's just as good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like just to echo what you were saying earlier, like, yeah, I mean, absolutely, like, Cave and Mountain Rescue teams are here regardless, no matter what the circumstances are, we're not here to judge. And, whilst I absolutely encourage people to get out, I'm also quite, cautious just to say, make sure you do it, within your limits and, actually well within them. And try and get additional advice if you need it in order to stay safe, because it's certainly not a time to be partaking in more risks, but you can get out and exercise within your means. And so I really, really encourage people like to do that. And the other thing, like, I just wanted to kind of like comment on, just from my background in psychology, and that is that, like, I think one of the things that people really, misunderstand is that somehow like privilege is synonymous with mental well-being. And I see a lot of people who are in privileged positions and who have a lot of like material thing, wealth, they might be, financially quite secure. And then they feel this shame around, struggling with their mental well-being because they feel like, oh, well, I don't have the right to feel like that. But they're not the same thing, because now more than ever, this whole pandemic is showing is that it isn't money that makes you happy. And actually the thing, that everybody's talking about that they're really, really struggling with is not necessarily how, poor they are or how stressful their circumstances are, but actually the lack of human contact. And so, no matter how privileged you are, it's your social circle and your feeling of satisfaction in yourself that is the most important thing. And it doesn't matter how many material things you have, if that happiness isn't in your heart and soul, then that will affect your mental well-being, and do not feel bad about it. And so for all of us runners, for me, I don't have much material stuff. Running and outdoors has been my thing, and when that got curbed and taken from me during lockdowns, it was really, really hard. Now I'm lucky in that I'm an outdoors instructor, and so I over the lockdown I put together I made a botany series actually, which will be going up on our website www.yorkshiredalesguides.co.uk, and that'll be going on very shortly. And so it's actually quite exciting because we're just kind of facing into spring again. So over spring and summer, I made this series of beginners botany videos. So how you look out for the flowers in your area, and that doesn't have to be in the middle of the Yorkshire Dales, where you can find it in a local park, in a city or wherever. So I encourage people to go out and look at that, and parents to use it as homeschooling. So it's all completely for free.
Yeah. Before you go on about the botany things, I'm very interested in that, because when I brought my family up to have a caving experience with yourself and Mike, and one of the things that I know that Eleanor remembers is you telling her about the flowers before we went into the cave, especially. Hopefully I remember this correctly. The meadow maker, was that the right name?
Oh yes, yeah. Do you remember what the meadow makers were?
I remember it's that very small white flower, but I don't remember any more detail than that.
I'm well impressed that you remember that. That's fantastic. Yes, that was eyebright and yellow rattle. They're two fabulous little flowers. Oh, I love flowers. I think they just, I don't know, they really enrich in your experience in the outdoors. And for me, making that botany video just kept me sane over lockdown, and it sort of felt like I was doing something sort of semi-useful. I had originally hoped in my innocence to have them out last summer, so that people could use them then, but alas, making films is actually a lot longer than people would think. So for everybody,
it takes a lot of effort, isn't it? It's the real reason why when I do podcasts, I don't like to edit anything in between. I can use the excuse of saying I want the whole conversation, I want it to be natural, but really it's because once you start editing, it takes so many hours. You don't necessarily publish, with the podcast, I don't want to turn it into a huge job. It's a fun thing. It's getting some stories across. I'm privileged to get to share in people's stories that I really enjoy, and so I just want to sort of get the stories out there to a reasonable standard. But yeah, I think just when you mentioned there as well about the sort of seasons and things, it's one of the things that's kind of kept me interested in the local trails, because I am really missing, getting up to the Yorkshire Dales or the lakes or Wales, Scotland, and running in some different places, because then I always enjoy coming back to the local trails because it's easier mainly. But just seeing the trails through the seasons, and just appreciating through the seasons all the different flowers. I kind of see it it's almost like layers of flowers. I'll go out one week and the woodland will be all yellow, and a week or two later the bluebells will come through or something, and it's all purple, and it's just this little patch of woodland that I'm running through usually probably 3 to 5 times a week. I go through this little patch of woodland, and you just see the different colours and the flowers, and there's the M62 motorway right next to it. In the height of summer, I can't see the M62. That's the best time.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I run through there, and it's like I'm running alongside the motorway, because all the trees are bare, and then it snows and it changes completely again. And I definitely appreciate that, and it is a good way of enjoying what's right on your doorstep. It is looking at those seasonal changes. And yeah, it's all mud today.
Yeah. Can't have it good every day, eh?
Yeah.
No, totally. Like, I really, really get that, because it's like, I think that's the one thing, like, I suppose a gift that has been given to me over, this last year, is that it's made me slow down. And it was right, I'm going to get my like iPad and my little like portable like thingy and keypad and go out into the outdoors. And I would literally go out and spend the whole day, working on like my video and answering emails, because we had so much sunshine. But what was so fabulous, because, everything was obviously done from the front door, was that I would have sections that I would just do every single day. And, when that gets presented to you in just a plain description, that seems so boring. But actually, like, I honestly had this real like richness and depth of experience, as, seeing, as you say, the same thing over and over again, and really the act of noticing. And I suppose then for me, like, that was sort of my practice of mindfulness. And then it was like, and it was really profoundly calming. Even in the face of like so many challenges, like it's been so, worrying and stressful for our business, because how, really badly affected it has been by this pandemic. And, we haven't got the same amount of support as, other service industries have, so hashtag save outdoor ed, because crikey, it's in really, the whole industry needs support massively. So, but yeah, it was just so fabulous, to have that and, get that experience. And I suppose for me, it was about sharing it with other people, in the little ways that I could. So it was good. It was good. But, so like, I kind of, then as we were like able to get like a bit more active, I suppose I was like, right, I need like a challenge, so something to kind of focus towards that maybe was more about the journey and like getting us kind of psyched up for some training rather than just the actual thing at the end of the day. And so I was chatting to my friend Jill, and then what we were going to do as our fundraiser was the Spine MRT, so the Mountain Rescue Team Challenge, which is that 108-mile baby fun run version of the full spine race.
Yep.
I don't know how baby it was. It was definitely lots of fun. And then obviously that had to get cancelled because it wasn't right to do given the circumstances. And I thought, right, we're far better off just picking a challenge, and then we can just do it when the time is right. And so we were kind of like thinking about, what could we do? Because we're going to have to keep our training relatively local, and what distance should we do and whatever else. And so we went for this Yorkshire top 10 idea. And so it's an 80-mile route. It has, Mike, how much descent has it got? 5,500 meters. That's my partner over in the corner, by the way.
The tall one, my son calls him.
The tall one, yeah. So he's tall and quiet and thin, and I'm gobby and small and feisty, allegedly, although I don't think that's true. But yeah, so we're going to do this route, and so it was going to start in. I live in like the heart of the Yorkshire Dale, so it was going to start in just above Horton and Ribblesdale in a little hamlet called Brackenbottom at the foot of Pennygent, and go up Ingleborough, then up and over Whernside, and then Crag Hill and Great Coombe, and then down into Dentdale along the Dales Way, up and over into a valley called Garsdale, which is beautiful, and then up towards the Mallerstang Valley, but up this beautiful ridge, where you go up Swarth Fell and Swarth Fell Pike, which is just before Wild Boar Fell. And then you come down into the valley, the Malastang Valley, up the other side, up a couple of hills that I've never been up before. So High Seat and Gregory Chapel. And then you go and traverse along the Bog of Doom, which makes Fleet Moss on the Fellsman seem like, like a baby's walk out. And then you eventually find your way up into Great Shunner Fell. You've got a fabulous 6-mile descent down into Hardraw. And then that'll be the hardest thing in the whole challenge, will be not giving up there and going left towards that amazing pub, the Copper Dragon in Hardraw. And I'll have a pint there in front of the gorgeous fire. And then to carry on to Hawes, and then up and over. Then the other thing is you've got to get past the Wensleydale Cheese Factory. Wensleydale Cheese Factory, will you sponsor us? We love cheese. We love your cheese the most. It's the best cheese. We run by your factory. It'd be rude not to give us something. And then up and over into Marset, not going for a swim in Semmer water. And then around Cragdale Moor down to what I call Hell's Teeth, which is called, I think properly like Hell's Gap or something. And then up and over Bugden Pike, Great Whernside, down to Kettlewell, up and over to Arncliffe, along the valley. We have about 6 miles on the road there, which I was kind of wondering about whether that would be just horrible or really delightful at that end of the trip. And then Fountains Fell and Pennygent back home for tea and medals. So sponsor us for the love of God. All you running people who are looking at this probably don't think that's much of a day out, but for my short legs, it's ample.
It's a good amount of ascent. I mean, 80 miles is never to be sniffed at. So it's always going to be a good day out. But 5,500 meters is that's more ascent than the Spine Challenger. I hope you realise that. So yeah, it'll be a good day out. So I was chatting with my coach yesterday, and it's in my training plan to come and give some support for you on that challenge.
Yes,
from what you were saying earlier with your all-female team, it sounds like I'm going to have to put my skirt on to come and support.
Absolutely, pigtails as well, and some glitter, because that's what us girly runners do.
Okay, right. Be dressed all in pink like my friend Kim always is.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. You know what I love about her? Like, what is that like? I think typically speaking, which is like a form of like sexism as well, is that there's this sort of like idea that like women who are feminine are not as strong and as brilliant, and she's a proper badass, a really good runner, and she's really feminine, and I love that, because for me it's about redefining what the feminine is.
Yes.
And like you can be, pretty and dainty and delicate and a lady, which is none of those things apply to me at all. And tough as nails and everything else. And when I was a kid, I loved dresses and climbing up trees at the same time. Dresses are a bit difficult for climbing up trees, but you can still do it.
Yeah. So yeah, as you say, it's I'm no believer in stereotypes. I always say to my kids, actually, when they look at me and say, Dad, you're a bit strange, and I said, thanks for the compliment. Just as long as you're not calling me normal, I'm quite happy with it. Carry on.
Yeah, exactly.
Last thing you want to be is normal.
Although I don't know if I'd recognize that if I seen it. I don't know any normal people.
Exactly.
Considering the fact that my primary sport is actually caving. I mean, runners, ultra distance runners are like the most normal people I know. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, one hell of a challenge, and I'm very much looking forward to coming and helping on it if I can, because of course it depends on whatever flavour of lockdown rules we have at the time, which I think we'd all like to know, and obviously you're doing your best as well with getting involved with the vaccination program. So how's that working out?
Yeah, really good. I mean, oh my goodness. Like, I just have to say, like, I am absolutely and utterly in awe of our NHS, like our National Health Service. We are just, we are so, so lucky, as a people to have such a great service and to get it all for free. And, people like everybody who's been working in the NHS has had such an incredibly, unrelentlessly hard year. And yet, before Christmas, everybody was like, right, let's, get it, our hands stuck in and let's go even above and beyond, more than already the exceptional workload, and then put together, a load of vaccination hubs all around the country. And what I've seen here in Skipton has just been phenomenal. So, myself and my partner Mike were like, right, well, obviously, we have to do our bit and get involved. So we started out volunteering, just like being, a warden in like the car park, so signing folk to, where they need to like go. And then I actually have a background in pharmaceutical chemistry. So I obviously had the qualifications to do the drawing up of the vaccine. So I said, oh, listen, if you need any more people to get involved in your pharmacy team. So then I started doing that for a bit, especially when, our business shut down again and this latest lockdown. It was like, right, well, I want to be part of the solution. So so now I'm doing that and a bit more besides now. So it's just putting as much of my free time as I can into that. And I'm just I'm absolutely blown away by what everybody has done. And it is actually genuinely really inspiring what people can do, when the chips are down, when people have been presented with this novel problem, that no one expected to happen. And, when they're at their lowest ebb, to still be able to pull out the stops and get the number of people. I mean, we've just heard that, we've just reached 10 million people. So,
Yep.
For anybody out there who knows anybody in the NHS, just like do give them a nod and say, yeah, good job.
Yeah, I'd echo that as well, because again, through Mountain Rescue, I've been for my vaccination. Very lucky to be able to do that, and everybody who was there at the vaccine centre that I went to, they were all NHS staff working extra hours, as you say, even though they've been stretched for close to a year now, all working extra hours, and they were so cheerful, helpful, lovely to talk to. It was such an uplifting experience, and to be honest, I really hope I can go back soon for the second jab, just so I can go and speak to them all again, because it was just such a pleasant experience, seeing people, knowing that you can put that effort in to take the whole country to that next step. Because I mean, again, I'm not an expert in this area, but I've been following the news, and I am something of an expert on statistics. So I do actually understand the numbers when they keep getting presented, and understand how a lot of journalists don't present the numbers correctly or misinterpret them. But the numbers that have come out of Israel, where they're very advanced with a huge portion of the population, because it's a much smaller country. So though they haven't got as many people vaccinated as we have here, I think they're the leading country with the percentage of the population. And it's actually shown the vaccines to be hugely effective. Hugely. I think I read the difference between 39 people catching COVID compared to something like I might be remembering incorrectly, but it was about 39 versus 30,000 or something like that out of 165,000. It was massive. The results are looking really, really promising from the vaccine program. And again, actually, I kind of have the chance to volunteer here as well, but with 3 kids and a dog and busy with Mountain Rescue, and my work's I'm lucky that my work isn't a business that's gone quiet because of COVID. We're actually the busiest we've ever been, because I work in the electronics industry, and of course everybody's doing
Yes, of
Zoom
course.
meetings and buying extra computers for the kids homeschooling. And like, I've just had to buy a new Wi-Fi system for my house because the kids homeschooling and me doing video calls for work was making the system fall over. So electronics industry is massively up. And so my work's, I'd say, actually really busy. And it's a shame. I'd like to have the time to go to get involved with this vaccine program. So, I mean, really good on you for for getting involved with that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and fair play to you for being a parent that's coping with homeschooling, because it's not something I could ever do. That's for sure.
No, again, I've been very lucky in that I know how to do all the IT side of it. So that there's a lot of parents struggling with that, and then I needed another computer in the house to cope with 5 of us all being on computers at the same time. And I was lucky I could just go and buy another one. And you just think, well, how do the people cope where there's one computer in the house, and that's, somebody's work computer, and they've got no computers for the kids and they can't afford to buy any. I know schools are supplying some, but it's just such a tough situation for so many people.
Yeah, it really, really is.
But it's in fact, I just think it just occurred to me, just because we've been talking about the vaccinations. I think, like I said to you just before we started the podcast, that I'd had a period of not doing the podcast, and that's because my own mental health was getting affected. Sometimes it's the small things, like just not knowing what was going to happen with races that I'd spent months training for. I didn't want to do a podcast talking about those races and talk about them in a negative way. The race directors are all doing their absolute best to get these things going. It's their business, it's their livelihood. I did not want to go, start talking negatively. So I just kind of stopped. And I actually think it's since I went for my vaccine that, and seeing that positivity, that's just made such a huge difference for me personally, that everything's just started to feel more positive since that it was 12th of January for me, a little while ago now. I should be getting my second vaccine right now, but I'm sure the people will make the right choices for the nation as a whole.
Yeah, exactly, for humanity as well. Right.
Yeah,
like I know what you mean, because it was like before Christmas, like I'm Irish now, just in case anybody didn't notice.
Nobody knows.
Although if you ask my parents, I've got a proper English accent now, darling. So I've been disowned. And I fell in love with an Englishman, which is also very, unpopular in Ireland. But anyways, forgive me. So yeah, like the thing that I find really hard, which I know a lot of people will be able to empathize with, is the fact that you can't get home, to your loved ones. And I've never had a whole year of my life where I haven't been home. I always used to go home, back to Ireland, meet my friends and be involved in, the Irish caving scene. And, I'd hope to actually, get a little bit involved with the Irish running scene. I wanted to do the Kerry Away Ultra. But so like coming up to Christmas and not being able to get home, and then not even, we made a choice not to go to Mike's parents for Christmas because we just, we got this far and we just didn't want to risk anything. So, it was starting, to kind of get me a bit down, and it was like, oh gosh, I'm kind of, my resiliency is running out here a little touch. And so when we went and volunteered, it was like, I can't describe how uplifting it was and how humbling it was to have these, these people who are like 99 years old. I mean, it's just so impressive to get that to that age, and just the gratitude they had, and what they hadn't seen. Like, some of them literally hadn't seen people in weeks and weeks and weeks. Some of them hadn't been touched in months. Like, no one had actually physically touched them in months. I mean, that's what we do in prisons to torture people. And they were just filled with so much gratitude to finally get this vaccine, and also just the social aspect of it, you know, to actually come have some people, you know, speak to them, and then just seeing the like tenderness and compassion of all the NHS staff who like dealt with them, and it was just like, it was so uplifting, and it was like, yeah, I have to be involved in this. You know, and it just kind of put things in perspective for me, not like to put down why I was down, like that was valid, to be like, yeah, okay, you know, there are lots, you know, we are heading in a positive direction, and there's lots of other people really struggling, so it's okay. Like style.
Yeah, as you say, it's just such a positive thing, and whether you volunteer or you're lucky enough to get your vaccine, it's or for the people around you to get your vaccine, it's great. Definitely difficult not being able to get home. I don't want to distract from your story with what's been going on here in that regard, but it's so. I guess we'll circle back around to your challenge. It's, you know, we've talked a lot about why charities like Mind are so important, and charities like Cave Rescue Organisation are so important right now. So how's your training going?
Yeah, it's going actually really good. So the last big challenge, even race that I've done, will have been the Challenger, which will have been 3 years ago now, which is kind of crazy. I mean, once I bought my business, all my personal stuff went out the window. So it's going really well, actually. I don't have a training plan or anything formal like that, and I certainly don't have a coach. Well, I suppose I have a coach in Jill, because she's such an experienced, brilliant runner, and she is a running coach herself. So while she doesn't, you know, boss me around with this big plan, you know, running with such a woman as her is just, you know, you learn so much from her every time you go out, which is great. I've probably done the most miles I've done in a month ever this last month. So that was, I did 185 miles. Which, do you know what? On Sunday, I got into the car and I was like, oh, you know, pretty okay. Mine was just like checking through my Stravas. Is there really? You know, I was like, no, they're all real. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I wonder what that is in kilometers. And it's only like it's only like about 4K short of 300 kilometers. And I was gutted. But I was too lazy to go back out of the car and like do that. I'll just feel sorry for myself in the bath with, you know, big warm coffee, so not really motivated enough to match it up. But yeah, so that's going well. And I mean, for me, what's really stood to me is just doing loads and loads of conditioning work. So because, like, to be fair, like for anybody who's watching this, like, you know, for all you runners, you won't know who the hell I am. But I'm just a smelly caver, and so I just spend a lot of time in the mountains, and that's kind of how I got into kind of longer stuff. And I tend to do longer stuff with loads of hills because I'm slow and I'm not very good at running. And so when you've got big steep hills, then you don't look so bad when you're walking, because it's like, oh yeah, well, she's not moving very fast because she's going up a big hill. So that's why I go for stuff with ascent, you see. Yeah, I've just found doing loads of like strength and conditioning work has like massively helped with like recovery and just been able to kind of like do the miles without getting injured. So that's working anyways for now. My legs will probably just fall off now in about 2 weeks' time. So sponsors now if you can before I key over.
Yeah, but I definitely echo what you're saying about the strength and conditioning just changes, like you say, how your body reacts to the miles completely. It just puts you on a different level. And once you can do the miles and then not get injured, that's how you get better at running. Because every time
I'm for that to happen, I'm still waiting. Like, but
I think you're a much better runner than what you let on, Steph.
Well, I hope you're right.
Yeah, but so yeah. I know you have a date in mind for this. I presume you're kind of just keeping an eye on lockdown news and things for as to whether that's going to have to change.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm trying to not have my heart set on anything really. I mean, I was originally in my innocence hoping to have it like towards the end of March. Don't know if that's going to be, right thing to do. I'll just kind of like suck it and see. I was hoping to kind of like do something where actually we were supported. So we had like, people running with us, like I was hoping like to load you up with all my kit.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then just a little harness for me to get into the back when I'm feeling tired. And so we might need to compromise. So like I might have to just like either compromise what we do and how we do it. Because like one of the things for me that was really tough for the Challenger was that like, I didn't have any nice fancy, kit, and I I didn't have the resource to buy loads. I mean, to be honest, there was no impetus to do that because it was like I never ever thought I was going to finish the Challenger, never mind get a woman's record. So I was like, Jesus, like why would you waste your money on a load of fancy kit when you're just being a complete chancer? So I had this like stupidly heavy bag. I mean, when I had all my food and my drink in my bag, it weighed 12 kilos. And to a caver, that was like, oh yeah, that's like nothing, like 12 kilos. Like compared to carrying big, heavy, caving kit up like a big mountain on a caving expedition, that seemed really small. But then it's like, it's running with that. Well, running, I mean, plodding, shuffling along, but then doing it for 100 miles without stopping. And so that really took its toll on my caver's knees. So I kind of had this thing of like, well, do you know what? If I don't do the Challenger, I can leave this whole like self-supported bullshit out of the way. Fair play to you for doing your self-support and stuff. I was like, I'm going to go a little bit soft now, have a load of boys chase me around the hills, carrying all it, and then have people, come up and fuss over me and give me food and stuff.
You've been talking to Sabs, haven't you?
Well, yeah, you see, I've been helping Sabs, and so Sabs is amazing because if you do anything for Sabs, she will do 10 times more for you. So she was like, well, I'll come and support you. And I was like, well, I'll have to do something to be supported for. And 10K is probably a bit, much. So really it's just to kind of like get all these people I've done support for to come around after me and make me feel all important, and be a lazy bitch, really. So of course COVID's going to poo-poo on that because it mightn't be appropriate to have support until like much later into the summer, and I'll have to have that choice. Do I want to wait till then and get a gang of people out, or do I want to just kind of go around and do it myself, but like carry my own shit and have a pain in my knees again?
Yeah.
See, I'm a keeper. We're buggered before we even started.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to the weight of the kit, I think when I was doing my first Challenger, the same time you did yours, I think my pack was about the same weight. It was definitely over 10 kilograms. I think I was scared to weigh it, so I didn't know exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
My pack that I had ready for the spine this year was going to be 6.
Yeah, that's far better, isn't it?
Yeah, and when I recently did solo unsupported, and I was carrying a lot of food, more than I needed. It was 6 kilograms. So and quite a lot. There was probably more than 3 kilograms of food there. So
Man, there's a lot of you to fill. Those legs are empty, I'm sure.
So yeah, I don't think you need to be going anywhere near the 12 kilograms that you've experienced before.
Never again.
No. But
No.
hopefully, but it won't be. It'll be within the kind of time frame that you're thinking that you'll be able to have groups of 6 socially distanced. I'm like a few people, myself and Sabs and a few others. If it really comes to it, we'll just run the whole thing with you and carry your kit. It's fine.
Grand, sorted. Not for me to say no to. You're up for that, great.
You can faff around a lot with trying to work out where.
I'm just not sharing any of the glory now, right? So you start about 2 miles in, and then 2 miles from the finish, you could just taper off. Give me my bag back, and then I'll come in.
Well, I mean, I went to do something similar with Kim. It was probably March last year as well, where she was on about doing a challenge. I think it was going to be a ladies FKT, and I said, well, I'll come and run some of it with you. And then as we got nearer to it, I said to her, I said, well, if I started with you, if I was slowing you down towards the end, will you promise you'll just keep going without me? And so in the end, we set the mixed pairs FKT on the Mary Townley loop because we kept going. It was fun. so no, I don't want to steal any of your glory. I'm not fast enough to get any FKTs on my own. So I do try to hang on with other people and steal some. So.
Good man. Oh, crikey. There's no fear of you stealing any glory from me anyways, that's for sure. There was no glory to be had, I'm afraid. Not a bunch of smelly cavers doing a run around the fells. What you could do is fundraise. You could beg people for money as well.
Well, I'm more
your rescue team.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm more than happy to share the message. Help prepare things like this to get the message out there. Obviously, when it comes to directly asking people for money, I feel a bit obliged to raise money for my own team. But yeah, without a shadow of doubt, the charities you're fundraising for are very, very worthwhile. And yeah, certainly we'll get all the hashtags on and put the links on for the Yorkshire Dale guides for where the botany series is going to be, because I'm certainly looking forward to that. And yeah, whatever else we can do to help promote things. And obviously when the challenge is happening as well, to my few followers that watch and listen in on things, certainly share things around as well. So yeah, it's a great effort. And I mean, a big part of the sharing of stories is about inspiring people, and I love that. I at least have the legitimate challenge of or legitimate side of being interested in women's challenges, because I have a daughter who you've met, and she had a wonderful time. Awesome. She loved the fact that when yourself and Mike took us caving, that it was a woman that was showing her how to do things that obviously to her before that day were just impossible, mind blowing. So yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I keep sharing these inspirational women's stories with my daughter.
Yeah, and it's such a fabulous way to parent. It's so important, because you have to see to believe. Women are conditioned implicitly all the time to believe that they aren't as strong or as brilliant as men. And I know that on average, women tend not to perform as well as men athletically. And, you being a statistician would know that, well, their inference for that would be that obviously men must be better than women at sport. But the thing is that you cannot fairly compare that data unless both sides are equal. And in terms of equal opportunity, equal belief, equal social support, equal financial support, equal belief, because that's hugely important. Yeah. And the representation, and this is what you're addressing, which I think is so brilliant, because my own little kind of version of that story is that when I went to go do the Challenger, I only did it because it was something that was on my doorstep. It was, cheap for me to do, and I could do it as a fundraiser. So I thought, well, I'm not doing this for me and my ego. I'm doing this as a fundraiser for my team. And so that's why I took it on. And I never thought for a second I was going to finish it. But as long as I earned some money for the team, that's all that mattered. And so I went looking at the stats, and there was just like so few women who had done it. And then on the MRT Challenger, only one woman had ever finished it each year, and not even every year. So, you know, from a series of deduction, I looked at that and I said, well, I am barely a runner, never mind a record-breaking runner. I'm not going to be the only one that finishes. So therefore, I'm not going to finish. Most people, then the next logical step would be, I'm not paying a load of money to do something that I'd have no chance of finishing. And like, there's strong logic to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember looking at, you know, the women's record, which was, I think at the time, you know, 52 hours, or, you know, like, and it was, yeah, and it was really close to the like cutoff, which was 60 hours. And I thought, well, maybe I could finish it, but crikey, I'm not going to finish it, you know, in actually a record-breaking time. And I think this is what is happening loads of women. So like, I'm just a cheeky bitch, and I was like, feck it, I'll just do it anyways. I don't care if I fail. And of course, I finish it, and, you know, and I end up with a women's record. I'd love to think that was an expression of how great I am. It's not. It's actually an expression of how few women are willing to do this. You know, and so it would meant so much to me to bring that record down, you know, to 42 hours, which was a lot closer to the middle. And then hopefully that would mean that people would look at that and think, yeah, you know, that, you know, this, you know, inspires me to get out there. And so, and, you know, and I'm seeing all the time women who are, you know, who are mothers, who are doing a disproportional amount of, you know, the caregiving and managing the home and household. And of course, that impacts on the amount of free time and mental energy they have for going out running, you know. And so this is where like women's inequalities are stopping them from running, not because they're women, but because of how they're socially conditioned to be. So, you know, my thing is just to get out there, you know, to any of the lasses who might be, you know, listening to this, is, you know, women really, really underestimate themselves. If I, you know, can run 100 and whatever, 18 miles it was that year, in 42 hours, there are a million other women who can do it so much faster than me. Like, you know, crikey, like, yeah, I'm just a nobody. And
well, I think again, even some of your conditioning is probably making you put yourself down a little bit much there. I agree with the main point you're making, that there's a lot of other people could do it if they believed in themselves. I definitely agree with that, but I think you're putting yourself down a little bit much there as well.
Well, I mean, look, I did well because I'm a mountain woman. You know, I am someone who spent a lot of time in the outdoors. So, you know, within those conditions, I was going to be
in that same race. I see myself as an outdoors person. I took 46 hours when you did 42. You know, so I know how hard I'd worked for that. So yeah. You shouldn't put yourself down in any way for what you've achieved.
Well, I suffered afterwards, that was for sure.
I couldn't walk afterwards. So I was sat at the side of the track in Malham Cove, trying to tape my toenail back on when you passed me, if I remember rightly. And to be fair, you and Mike did stop and ask if I needed any assistance. You were very nice about it. So yeah.
Oh God, I'll never forget that, because I didn't expect like to get back as soon as I did. So I had a friend of mine who'd taken a freaking day off work to come and support me. Well, not support me, but like cheer me on the like Monday. And of course I got back on the Sunday. So, but anyways, I then got up the next morning. I was like, I can't flaming walk. And I was like, you know, it's like 2 miles down. It's not even 2 miles, a mile and a half down the road. And I was like, I actually don't think I can make it that far. And then it was like, my ankles are so swollen that I will not be able to operate the clutch in my car. So I literally had to ring Claire and go, look, and Lovey, can you actually, have we no food in the house? Could you shopping and bring it around to me? Oh God, it was, yeah, really undignified.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of you real runners told me about that. And then the whole thing about peeing.
I wasn't a real runner at the time. So I didn't know.
You're amazing.
It destroyed me. Yeah. But you see, the difference is, Steph, that you then put your energy into something different and, you know, built up a business and did that. I was the daft one that went straight back the year after to try and prove something to myself to do it faster. You know, I don't think it's necessarily big and clever to do that.
But you did, and you did incredibly well. So, you know, relish in, set yourself a task and you nailed it. You know, fair play. Joe Parsons, on the other hand, is giving no sense at all. It just keeps going back again and again and again. Daft fool of a man.
Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
It's fun. Right. Well,
we'd make lots of money for ibuprofen, eh?
Yes. But before we start telling stories of spine DNFs and foot rubs, and getting Mike upset in the background. Yeah.
I know. I was like massaging your foot, and then I was like, we better not say this to Mike. He won't have a problem with the fact that you're getting one, but he has a problem that he doesn't get any. Hear him laughing in the corner.
Yeah, the funny thing was that I after you'd given me that foot rub, I was thinking, oh, like my wife's on her way to pick me up, you know, and I can't remember who else it was. Oh, it was at the previous checkpoint. And another friend of mine, Donna, had given me a foot rub there as well. Again, just joking on. And
oh, you didn't mention that. I would have told you to.
and I think
milking it from all the girls.
I can't. Well, exactly. I think I can't tell Val. You know, it's just all the girls that are giving me foot rubs. So this random old guy was walking past, and I had my foot up on that chair because it was swollen up like crazy. And I just said to him, I said, "Oh, by the way, that's the foot rub chair. You can sit down and give me a foot rub if you like." So he did. That's why
God, I need to try that.
Yeah, that's the spine family, isn't it? Just
yeah, the best.
I can't remember his name. Lovely old man. He gives a good foot rub.
Bless him. What team is he with?
I don't know. He probably just came in off the street, you know, just to say hello or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's probably like a spine groupie. It is.
Yeah. So I just realised I shouldn't have reminded you about that because you'll be asking for a foot rub on your 10 Peaks challenge now, won't you?
Damn right. Don't. That's in the spreadsheet. That's in the spreadsheet.
Okay, I'll bring extra hand gel.
Although you do realise that if Savs is supporting, that there's going to be no time allowed for foot rubs. It's going to be like chop chop, on you go. We no stopping.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to seeing Sabs opening the gate for other people.
Well, she's no diva. She'll have no problem doing that.
No, none at all. Yes. Right. Well, I'm really looking forward to your challenge, and you need to keep posting updates about your training and preparing for it. And I know you have people that live near different parts of the route, wrecking different parts of it for you as well. So
yeah,
that would be good to see pictures and sort of better sort of recce information about the different parts of the route. The boggy section, I presume I'm going to end up in that. So
oh yeah, well, it just makes sense, you know, glutton punishment and all, spine trained that you are.
Yeah, so I'll start looking forward to that now.
You know, people are like, well, how are you actually, you know, staying safe, you know, en route and stuff? It's like, well, we actually have mountain rescue with us in the bog just in case I get stuck, you know.
Yeah, apparently I have long arms so I can reach people out of bogs, but
Oh God, it's going to be a squalor fest, but it'll be great. It'll be great.
It's. I mean, obviously I helped Sabs on her challenge, and I was on Gwyn's double Bob Graham last year as well. It's great fun coming along and helping on these things. It really is. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is one thing I really, really love about the fell running community is just that sense of camaraderie and that sense of like, you know, giving more than you take, and that even, you know, people at the very, very top, no matter how great they are, you know, they're willing to help anybody, no matter how slow they're going to be, you know, or how whatever. There's just, you know, there's no kind of social status bullshit that goes with it, you know, just you're a smelly muddy runner, then that's it, you're the same as everyone else. And I think that is a really, really fabulous thing about the community. And you know, this year when I've like, you know, when my business struggled and everything, like, you know, everybody in the spine, you know, what we call our spine family, you know, did so much for me, like emotional support. It was like, what can we do? Can we promote your business? You know, can we, you know, buy vouchers for people, like, you know, to give to underprivileged kids and families, and you know, because I do a lot of that kind of work. And it was just like, you know, they are just the best, you know, folk you could ever have the privilege to call friends. And it will be great when the time is right to have everybody out and running and, you know, keeping our lungs clear, our bodies healthy, you know, and you know, just having a bit of crack. Yeah, hopefully, you know, earning a few
that's Irish crack, not the drug.
No, you don't need any drugs. You're born with a natural amount in the brain. Why I don't drink, and I don't drink caffeine because I don't need any more.
Right. Well, yeah, brilliant catching up with you, Steph. And hopefully we'll be out running together soon. Really hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. So best of luck progressing with the planning for the challenge and with your latest work in the vaccine centre. That's brilliant. So thanks, Steph.
Thank you.